Hi, in this video we'll be looking at Pythagorean Theorem, solving for side C. So Pythagorean Theorem gives a relationship between side lengths for right angle triangles. And it says that the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. And the hypotenuse is the longest side in a right angle triangle, opposite the right angle. So let's take a look at these statements and what they mean when we translate them on the diagram and into the equation. The square of the hypotenuse, c squared, is equal to the sum of, so that's the addition, the squares of the other two sides. And the hypotenuse is the longest side in a right angle triangle, opposite the right angle. So when we want to solve for side C and we have c squared, we have to do the opposite of squared, which is square root. So we're going to square root that left side to get c. But if we square root something in one side of an equation, we also have to do the same thing to the other side. In other words, our formula for c is equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared. All right, let's take a look at an example. First thing we're going to do is label. The hypotenuse is side C, and let's call this side A, 5 feet 4 inches, and this side B, 4 feet 10 inches. And we're going to be looking to solve for side C. We notice right away that the dimensions are in feet and inches, so it would be easiest to work all in inches. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to turn my 5 feet into inches. I'll use my unit factor method. 12 inches is a foot. I'm going to cancel out my feet, and that gives me 60 inches. But I already had 4 inches in the problem, so this dimension is a total of 64 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing now for the 4 feet. Foot is 12 inches, cancel out my units. So that's 48 inches. And I already had 10 inches in the question, so I need to add that on. So that's a total of 58 inches. So now I'm ready to solve for side C. And I'll begin by, once again, writing out my formula. It's good practice to show your formulas in your work. So side C is equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared. And now I'm going to substitute. So I had 64 inches squared plus 58 inches squared. I'll make sure I extend my square root symbol so that it captures everything underneath. Ready to go ahead and type this into my calculator, but there's a key step here that's going to be required in the calculator, and that is that when you open up your square root symbol in your calculator, after that you need to open up a set of brackets so that everything underneath is contained underneath that square root symbol. So go ahead and do this in your calculator. Square root, open bracket, 64 squared plus 58 squared, close bracket, and press equal. You should get 86.37 and some other decimal digits, and you can keep all of them. Now let's think about the units. So inches squared plus inches squared is inches squared. So underneath the square root symbol, we had inches squared. What does this mean? Well, you have the square root of something squared. That in fact cancels that out, and you're left with inches. So my dimensions for C is in inches, and this should make sense because I had A in inches, B was in inches, so C should also be in inches. Now you could leave this answer as a decimal inches answer. If, for instance, your assessment said to go ahead and do that, you would round appropriately as per the instructions. But since we have the skill set for changing over decimal inches into feet and inches, let's go ahead and do that, and that way our dimensions will match the measured given values. So let's quickly do that over here. We're going to multiply by foot over 12 inches. That's our unit conversion factor once again. Cancel out my inches and inches. So what I'm taking is that value that's sitting in my calculator, the 86.37 with all the digits, and I'm going to divide by 12. So this is a bit of review. And so I get 7.197, and I'll keep all those digits sitting in my calculator. And that's now in feet. So I want to know the whole number of feet. So I'm going to subtract off 7 because that's my whole number of feet. And I'm left with this portion of feet. So in my calculator, I had the 7.197, so on. I'm going to subtract 7, press equal. So this is how many feet I now have, and I want to turn that into inches. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply by 12. And when I do, I get 2.37, so on, inches. And that rounds to 2 inches because the digit after the decimal is not 5 or more, it's a 3. So I'm just going to leave it at 2 inches. So my final answer is then C is equal to 7 feet, 2 inches. And I'm going to put this answer actually back onto the triangle because I want to think about my answer. So I had C is 7 feet, 2 inches. So let's look. We had A as 5 feet, 4 inches, B as 4 feet, 10 inches. And my diagram's not 100% to scale, but we're getting to the point of this, which is that once we found C, does my answer make sense? It's most certainly reasonable. It is the longest side. Okay, so let's look at this practice example. Given side A and side B, and we need to find side C. Again, my diagram's not to scale, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and fill in the given information on the diagram. So that's 24 feet, 10 feet, and we need to find side C. Start with my formula. C is equal to square root of A squared plus B squared. Take a moment and substitute. And please go ahead and type this into your calculator. And you should get an answer of 26 feet. Okay, so we put that in our table. And when I put this now onto the diagram, I can do a quick check that my answers make sense. B is 10 feet. A is 24 feet, is my longest side, the largest value. Yes, it is. So my answer again is reasonable. Okay, so I hope you were able to understand how to solve for side C using Pythagorean theorem, and you can move on to the next video now.